Hi everyone! In today's video, I'm going to show you how to repair a Toro Recycler or Super Recycler lawnmower with a non-functional blade brake clutch system. This is a very common problem on these Toro Recycler and Super Recycler mowers, where the blade clutch simply stops working. You pull up on the bail bar to engage the blade, and either it does nothing, or in this mower's case, it sort of anemically spins a little bit, but nowhere near strong enough to actually cut grass. Luckily, to repair this problem is very straightforward. Even somebody without mechanical aptitude should be able to do it very easily. However, a lot of people don't know it's this easy to repair. In the case of this mower right here, I found this mower being thrown away. It runs perfectly fine, the self-propelled works, everything. The blades are even sharp. But the blade brake clutch does not engage, so the mower is basically useless. Alright, let's get to it. The first thing to do is to tilt the lawnmower on its side. We're going to tilt it muffler side down. The way you can identify that is if this black chute is facing up. Okay, now that we have the mower tipped on its side, the first thing we're going to want to do is remove the two 9/16 bolts right here, which hold the blade on. If the blade is rotating while you're trying to remove these bolts, take your foot and brace it against the blade and the deck like this. Don't worry, the engine is off and it's decoupled from the blade using the blade clutch, so there's no fear of this accidentally injuring you in any way. Go ahead and just take these two bolts off. If they're a little bit seized, you can heat them up or use an impact driver. These ones seem like they're going to come off just fine. You can go ahead and take the blade off here, and the mulching fan, and this cast blade adapter. Just set all of those to the side along with the two nuts. Next thing is to remove the three 3/8 inch bolts right here that hold the plastic dust shield onto the blade brake clutch assembly. And once those are out of there, we can go ahead and remove the plastic cover. I'm going to take a brief moment to explain how the blade brake clutch system functions. It's pretty ingenious. There are two rotating assemblies here on the underside of the mower. The upper rotating assembly is the lower flywheel of the engine and is actually spinning whenever the engine is running. The lower assembly here is the blade mount, this part that looks like a brake drum. This spins freely on a center bearing here. There is a rubber belt in between the two which wraps around an idler wheel on an arm. You can see the arm moving here. The way this works is the top flywheel, as I said, spins whenever the engine is spinning, and this belt sits in between the two. When pressure is applied to this idler wheel, the belt tightens up, jamming itself in between the upper and lower assemblies and causing them to rotate in unison. What that means is when you pull up on the handle and put tension on the belt, the blade starts. However, this lower part here, remember I said it looks like a brake drum? Well, it serves two functions. Not only does it act as the belt pulley, but it also acts as the braking mechanism. On the bracket here, where the idler wheel is, there is a brake pad and a heavy-duty spring. And when you release the bail handle, and this slides this way, it not only detensions the belt, but it also slams the brake pad into this drum-shaped piece, causing the blade to stop instantly while the engine continues rotating. What happens over time is the rubber belt is your sacrificial part, meaning there's a lot of friction when you first engage the blade or when you're going through heavy grass, and the belt will wear as intended before the metal parts do. This isn't a problem, it's designed to do that. However, this lawnmower is about 35 years old, and the belt has now worn down to a point where it no longer makes good contact between the upper assembly and the lower assembly. Thus, the blade barely spins. Luckily, it's a belt. It's very easy to replace, and I'll go ahead and show you how to do that now. Here's the belt you need. It is Toro X Mark part number 42-0884, and it's this stubby little V-belt. However, a normal V-belt from your auto parts store will not work. It's not thick enough. If you notice how thick this V-belt is, it's specifically designed to fit into this space right here. To replace the belt, we need to remove the idler wheel from this bracket. This is actually very easy to do. It's just retained by a bolt and a nut on the other side. Both of them are 1/2 inch. So go ahead and get a 1/2 inch wrench like this and just slide it behind there until you find the nut, at which point you can just fit it on like this. And then with the wrench holding that nut, we can go ahead and remove the bolt. It's a little tight, it's a little rusty, but it's coming off. See that? Might have to use 2 hands on this one. Alright, there we go. So now you can go ahead and remove this bolt here, and there's also a washer on the back side. See, the nut is still in the wrench here. So now what we can do is grab this bracket like this and rotate it down, and you can see the idler pulley will just sort of fall out along with the belt, and the whole thing can just be taken off. You can see here in comparison how much thicker the replacement belt is to the old 30-year-old worn out one. Assembly is the reverse of disassembly. So we're going to get our new belt here and just pop it over there and go ahead and slide it behind the bracket like so. And then we'll go ahead and get our pulley. Now this pulley was a little bit stiff to turn, so I just added a couple of drops of 30-weight oil to the bearing, and now you can see it spins very nicely. Want to make sure this is not seized, otherwise it will destroy the belt in short order. So then we'll go ahead and pop our pulley into the belt here, and we can rotate it around until you can see the little hole in the pulley line up with our hole right here, which we can. So we're going to go ahead and put in our bolt, and we'll get our washer and put that around the back, just like so. Alright, the washer's on there. So now we'll go ahead, and our nut is still nice and held in our wrench, so we can just stick that right there and start tightening it up. You don't have to get it crazy tight. It's a nylon nut, so that should be fine. Now let's just make sure it spins, which it does. And it's so tight in there I can barely move it. Another thing to note is, I don't know if you recall how far I was able to move this bracket before. You can see that now the bracket barely moves, and that's how it's supposed to be. There should not be very much slack in this system. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the dust cover back on, just like so. Alright, so now we can go ahead and reattach the blade. First we'll put on our cast spacer there. Then we can go ahead and put on our blade. Then our mulching fan. And then finally this, whatever this is. And our 2 9/16 nuts. I'm starting these by hand because these threads have a tendency to strip out. And once again, you can brace the blade with your foot as you tighten the blade up. And we're done. Let's flip it over. So as you can see, the blade engages right away with no hesitation. So I think the last thing we need to do is take this thing out and cut a little grass and see how it works. Well, that seems like it works great. Thanks for watching, everyone.